The first time it happened, Clara didn't notice. It was a Tuesday evening, the kind where the air smelled of rain, and the hum of the refrigerator was the only sound in the apartment. She was stirring a pot of tomato sauce, her favorite wooden spoon in hand, when Daniel walked in. He kissed her cheek, just like always, but something was off. His lips lingered a second too long, his breath smelled faintly of mint instead of coffee, and when she turned to smile at him, his eyes, those warm, familiar eyes, held a glint she didn't recognize. Clara shrugged it off. Everyone has off days, she thought. But then it happened again, and again, until one night, as she lay in bed watching Daniel sleep, she realized with a jolt, this isn't him anymore. Hook. Have you ever looked at your partner and thought, who are you? It starts with a feeling, a nagging, gnawing sense that something is wrong, like a splinter under your skin you can't quite locate. You dismiss it at first. It's just stress. It's work. It's nothing. But then the small things pile up. The way they laugh at jokes they used to find offensive. The way they suddenly hate the restaurant where you had your first date. The way they look at you, not with love, not with irritation, but with something hollow, something empty. You try to rationalize it. People change. Relationships evolve. But deep down, you know, this isn't evolution. This is an invasion. Personal anecdote, the night the lights changed. Clara remembered the exact moment she knew. It was 3 a.m., and Daniel had woken her up, standing over the bed with his phone in hand. The glow of the screen cast shadows across his face, making his features sharp and unfamiliar. "Who are you texting?" she murmured, rubbing her eyes. "No one," he said. His voice was flat, devoid of the warmth that used to wrap around her like a blanket. She reached for his phone. He pulled away. That was when she saw it, the way his fingers twitched, the way his jaw clenched, not in guilt, but in annoyance, as if she were an inconvenience, a bug to be swatted away. Clara's stomach dropped. This isn't Daniel. The subtle slippage, how the person you love vanishes. Early warning signs. It never happens all at once. That's the trick of the 304 trap. It's a slow unraveling, a fraying at the edges, until one day you're left holding a threadbare version of the person you once knew. For Clara, it started with Daniel's routines. He stopped making coffee in the mornings, opting for black tea instead, something he'd always despised. He began wearing cologne, a sharp, citrusy scent that made her nose wrinkle. He cancelled their weekly movie nights, claiming he was too tired, but she'd hear him on the phone late at night, his voice low and animated. The boiling frog analogy. You've heard the saying, if you drop a frog into boiling water, it will jump out. But if you place it in lukewarm water and slowly turn up the heat, it won't notice until it's too late. That's the 304 trap. The changes are so incremental, so insidious, that you adapt. You tell yourself it's normal. You make excuses. He's stressed. She's going through a phase. We'll get past this. But the water is boiling, and you're still in the pot. Common catalysts. What triggers the transformation? Sometimes it's stress, a new job, financial troubles, the death of a loved one. Other times, it's external influences, a new friend, a co-worker, a hobby that consumes them. And sometimes it's something darker, unaddressed insecurities, resentment, or a slow-burning desire to become someone else entirely. For Daniel, Clara suspected it was the promotion. He'd always been ambitious, but after he became regional manager, he changed. He started dressing differently, talking differently, thinking differently. It was as if the job hadn't just changed his title, it had rewritten his soul. Unmasking the imposter. When the person you love becomes a stranger. Behavioral hallmarks. The 304 trap isn't about mood swings or temporary distance. It's a fundamental shift in who someone is. Here's how you know. Their humor changes. They laugh at things that used to disgust them, or they stop laughing at the jokes that used to bond you. Their values shift. Suddenly, they don't care about the causes they once championed, or they adopt opinions that make your skin crawl. They gaslight you. When you point out the changes, they dismiss you. You're imagining things. You're too sensitive. I've always been like this. They're emotionally unavailable. Not in the I need space way, but in the I don't recognize you way. It's as if they're looking through you, not at you. Emotional impact on you. The grief is profound. You don't just lose a partner. You lose the future you imagined, the memories you trusted, the version of yourself that existed with them. It's a death without a body, a haunting without a ghost. Clara found herself crying in the shower, the hot water masking her sobs. She'd stare at old photos, tracing Daniel's face with her finger, whispering, "Where did you go?" Case study: the man who wasn't there. Take Mark and Lisa. They'd been together for 8 years when Lisa noticed the shift. Mark, once a free spirit who loved spontaneous road trips, became obsessed with routine. He started wearing suits, even on weekends. He stopped calling her babe and started calling her Lisa in a tone that made her flinch. When she confronted him, he smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes, and said, "People grow up, Lisa. Maybe it's time you did too." 6 months later, she found texts on his phone to a woman named Emily. But the worst part? The texts weren't romantic. They were collaborative, as if Mark and Emily were building a new life together, one that didn't include her. Lisa left. She said it felt like she was breaking up with a stranger. Navigating the labyrinth, surviving the 304 trap. Communication breakdowns. You try to talk to them. You beg, you plead, you scream, but it's like shouting into a void. The person you're talking to isn't the one you fell in love with. They're a shell, an echo, a poorly written sequel to the original. Clara tried couples therapy. Daniel went once. He sat with his arms crossed, his expression bored, as if the therapist were wasting his time. "I don't know what she wants me to say," he told her. "I'm still me." But he wasn't. Protecting your well-being. You cannot save someone who doesn't want to be saved, and you cannot love someone who no longer exists. Clara started journaling. She joined a support group for people who'd experienced the 304 trap. Yes, it's a real thing. There are forums, Reddit threads, entire communities of people who've loved ghosts. She learned to recognize the difference between hope and delusion. Setting boundaries. You have to draw a line in the sand. For Clara, it was the night Daniel came home and announced he was quitting his job to pursue a passion project with a woman he'd met at a conference. He said it with such enthusiasm, such life, that Clara realized he's already gone. She told him to move out. He didn't argue. Reclaiming your reality, walking away from the ghost. When to walk away. There comes a point where love becomes self-destruction, when every conversation is a battle, every touch feels like a betrayal, and every day with them is a day you lose yourself. That's when you leave, not because you don't love them, but because you love yourself more. Rebuilding. After the 304 trap. Healing from the 304 trap isn't like healing from a breakup. It's like recovering from a death. Except there's no grave to visit, no closure, just the hollow ache of a love that vanished like smoke. Clara moved to a new apartment. She took up painting. She adopted a cat named Jupiter who slept on her pillow and purred her to sleep. She learned to trust her instincts again. And one day she realized she wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Concluding thought: the courage to choose yourself. The 304 trap isn't a failure of love. It's a recognition that sometimes love becomes unrecognizable. And staying doesn't make you loyal, it makes you a prisoner. Clara never found out what happened to Daniel. She heard through mutual friends that he'd moved to another city, that he was happy, that he'd finally found himself. She didn't care, because the truth was she'd found herself too, and she wasn't ever letting go again. Final question for the reader. Have you ever looked at someone you love and wondered, who are you? And more importantly, what did you do about it?